Hello and welcome everybody to the first ever NextGen Leaders Debate. I'm your host, Fahad Raymond, and I'm joined today by two of the three candidates for mayor vying to lead the City of Pickering for the next 4 years. To my right, we have Councillor Kevin Ashe, and to my left, we have Ms. Janice Frampton. The third candidate, Mr. Brad Nazar, unfortunately declined to participate. Kevin, Janice, thank you so much for joining us today. I really appreciate your willingness to be here, and I know that a lot of the viewers and the people of Pickering will appreciate that as well, so thank you very much again. The format of today will be a little different from a classic debate. We aren't just going to be answering simple questions or giving the candidates 1 or 2 minutes to respond to crucial questions about our future with no follow-up. Instead, we're going to operate as a hybrid between a debate and a discussion. The idea behind doing this is simply that the issues before us as a city today are complicated and nuanced, and the implications of our decisions today will impact not just our futures, but the futures of many generations to come here in Pickering. It's the first time we are going to be changing mayors in almost 20 years, and given all the change that we all know is on the horizon, we figured Pickering residents would benefit from hearing what the candidates have to say in a deeper context, and we figured we could use our platform to get that out there. Today, we're going to have some solid conversation about Pickering's future. There will be individual and group questions to the candidates, and we will discuss some common critiques of each candidate and give them a chance to respond to those, along with ample opportunity for back and forth debate and discussion. I will be moderating. We're going to go deep. We're going to have fun. Let's get it started since there's only 2 of you with a coin toss, and then we can do introductory statements. Heads? Tails?
Oh, go ahead, ladies first.
Sure.
Heads.
Heads. Tails.
Heads.
Heads.
Hi, my name is Janice Frampton. I'm a 38-year resident of the City of Pickering. My husband and I moved here from Toronto in 1984. We've raised our 4 children here, and 2 of our children now live with us and their children. So it's a generational move here now for our family. We love Pickering. We have stayed here because that's where we can't think of any other place to move. I'm from Oshawa, my husband's from England, and we wanted to stay close enough for comfort, far enough for distance from our family. But I didn't want to go back to Oshawa, and this was a locale that we appreciated and enjoyed coming to. And so it's a place we want to grow old in. And the way it's going right now, I don't know if that's possible. And we saw an opportunity with running for mayor to do something different and to see that perhaps that could be a possibility, because we want to see the ability to age in place and for our children to have a greener, better future, because the way things are going right now, I don't see that happening unless there's a change in leadership.
All right, thank you very much, Janice. Now, Kevin, an introduction.
Hi, my name is Kevin Ashe, and I'm delighted to be here. Thank you for hosting Janice and I today. Election on October 24th. Pickering's at a crossroads, and I'm delighted to have an opportunity to put my name forward as your next mayor, the 5th mayor of Pickering. For long-timers in our city, you would know that the first mayor of Pickering was my dad, George Ashe, who passed away 8 years ago, but his name is still front and center as his name's on our library on Kingston Road. I'm a 55-year resident of Pickering. So I moved here when I was 5 years old, went through my elementary and high school in Pickering and Durham. I've had my family here, married here, and I've worked here for much of my life. I think this election is very important. We're going to have at least 3 new members of council, and I think we need a strong leader with new energy, new vision in the corner office at City Hall. And I think I give the experience you can count on. I think the City of Pickering is a $125 million company, and simply put to the residents and the viewers today, being mayor is not an entry-level job. I think you need some experience, and I've bring that experience 15 years on council, and I look forward to the questions today and continue the conversation with residents and viewers until we cast our ballots starting next Monday the 17th through to the 24th.
Awesome, thank you very much. So to get us started, we have some questions for the both of you, which you can answer one after the other in the same order that we started in. So Janice, you were first. First question we're gonna ask is, what makes you the right choice for mayor?
An old saying that says if the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result, well, that's the same thing with electing a mayor that's been there for 15 years, and it's just electing the same thing over and over and over again. So I bring something fresh. I think bring something new to the table. I'm a collaborator. I'm a unifier. I listen to people. I bring an element and an energy that isn't in Pickering right now and isn't in council right now, and it's needed. people in this community feel that they've been left out of the process. They feel like they've been left out of the decision-making process, and that's an energy that really needs to be brought to the fore. The community needs to be listened to, and that's what I'm all about, is listening to communities. That's what I've been doing, is going into communities and talking to people, and that's something that I bring to the table.
Awesome. Thank you. Mr. Ashe?
Well, I think this is a very important election. I've decided to put my name forward and my vision forward, and I'm not endorsing other candidates. I'm not running in a slate. I don't have third-party people with money we don't know where it comes from supporting my candidacy. I'm also a collaborator, and I'm looking forward to working with the new council. I'm honored to have the 3 members of council that are leaving service of Pickering, Mayor Ryan, Regional Councillor McLean, and City Councillor Duty Hamilton. All those lawns have an Ashe sign on them. Mm-hmm. You know why? Because they know what it takes to be a mayor. They know the demands in regards to the physical demands as well as the mental demands. They know it takes a team, and I want to lead that team.
Got it. Awesome. So what is one of the biggest things you hope to accomplish if elected mayor? Ms. Frampton?
I'd like to change the path that we're headed on as far as the growth is concerned. And you've educated me quite a bit on growth and what's needed, and I thank you very much for that. Again, it's about listening and where we're headed in that. And I just wanted to say that old school, old money, old Pickering isn't going to create a new future for us. It's just going to be more of the same, of the old, of the old. And if we head on this path, that's all we're going to get. And that's great if that's what you want. If that's what the City of Pickering wants, go for it. But we need to move forward and keep, I bring newness. I bring something to the table that is needed in this city. Again, if we want to keep doing the same, if we want to keep beating our heads against the wall and just having more of the same, I can't change that. So.
Okay, awesome. And yourself, what would be one of the biggest things you hope to accomplish if elected mayor?
I want to lead this city to its rightful place as one of the leading places in our province, in our country, and indeed the world. I grew up here as a child and as a young person. Decided to raise my family here when it was a small little suburb with nothing north of.
And what year was that?
Well, we moved here in 1967.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a very small community. It was a township. My dad was the deputy reeve before he became mayor. So I've seen the change here, and I understand there is concern about the pace of development and what the future holds. I'm excited about it. I think this is Pickering's time, and we need a strong leader to manage that growth in a responsible, orderly, and sustainable way, and doing it at the same time that we renew our infrastructure.
Right.
So I don't think we have to have blinders on. I think we should embrace the change and welcome the change, but do it in the right way.
Got it. Sounds good. Question number 3 to Mrs. Frampton. What makes you the person for the job over your opponents?
I have a lot of experience as far as leading people. When we first moved here, our second home, we were involved, our homes were built during the boom. And there were a lot of problems with the homes. And I was knocking on doors, and we created the Brandy Lane Homeowners Association. And we actually took our builder to task with Hudak at the old town hall at the police, when it was at the police station, and we got our homes fixed. My husband and I was the vice chair of that committee, and from there we just went on. And I have a leadership skill of bringing people together and listening to people and having their opinions heard and being brought forth. And that's a community. That's part of the community, and that's what I hope to bring forward as far as Pickering is concerned.
Okay, awesome. Mr. Ashe, what makes you the person for the job over your opponents?
I think experience is the key. To Ms. Frampton's credit, she has been to City Hall. She's presented to council. I can't say the same about Mr. Nazar. I don't think I've ever seen him at City Hall. The only time he might have been there was to sign up to run for mayor. I don't know that for a fact, so I don't want to suggest something that's incorrect. But again, to Janice's credit, I've known Janice for a number of years, and she has been a strong advocate for her community. some of you might even say troublemaker, and I'm saying that with some degree of friendship in regards to that. But experience is the key for me. I know how to run a meeting. I know how to run a business. I'm a business owner as well. I've been a councillor for 15 years. I know Robert's Rules of Orders. I know how to partner with our municipality. I know how to advocate for change with our provincial and federal partners. I know how to ask for money and be full partners in our confederation. So I think experience is the key in regards to the differences between my two opponents.
Got it. Sounds good. Now, just as a follow-up, you mentioned you're a business owner. What kind of business is that? What do you...
Group insurance consulting.
Group insurance consulting. Okay, got it.
I've been doing it since 86, 30
wow.
something years now. So.
Okay, good to know. Next question is one that I'm a huge fan of. Ms. Frampton, what kind of place do you imagine Pickering to be in 2050? What kind of place do you want it to be?
What I'd like it to be is a community-driven city with our parks abundant. I would like to see our farmlands abundant as well. No, I'm not talking with people and buildings. I'd like to see, as I said, very community oriented and lots of diversity and just children and growing, and a big part of Toronto, but not a bedroom city. There's got to be the businesses, thriving businesses, and a city that's proud of itself. Because I feel like all this community has been lost. You talk to people and there's just this sense of loss in Pickering right now. You go into communities and there's identities have been lost. They just don't feel that they're part of anything special anymore, that they're part of something bigger than themselves. And that's what's really disturbing. I just find that people aren't feeling the power of that entity that they want, that they're there and they're part of something bigger than themselves. And that's what I believe really pushes the city forward. They've lost the sense of community, and volunteerism is at an all-time low. All those things that make a community great are missing. And I'd like to see that change and Pickering move forward as a wonderful city that way.
Awesome. Got it. Mr. Ashe?
I'm not as pessimistic about our future. In fact, I'm optimistic about our future. I think Pickering's best days are ahead. I envision a world-class city which has a walkable downtown. We don't currently have a downtown. We kind of lost that when Pickering Village, the historic village of Pickering, got annexed many years ago. So I want a walkable downtown with a performing arts center. I don't think our community is complete until we support our arts. I'd love to have a new senior center, a new library, a walkable downtown. We're blessed here to have an abundance of green space, beautiful waterfront, infrastructure from our 401 and 407, which we need to upgrade. But we also have just 10 minutes north of our city center, trails, farmland, golf courses, hiking trails, Seton hiking trails, et cetera, et cetera. So I think we should be supportive of the renewal of our infrastructure, and we should be doing the development along a transit corridor so we can have walkable communities that are transit supported. And I'm excited about the future. I love my community, and I'm gonna grow old here, hopefully. So
awesome, thank you.
Wasn't it your dad that gave away Pickering Village? Wasn't that lost the annex? Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it was during his term that it was lost, wasn't it?
Well, the formation of regional government happened in 1974, and the decision about boundaries was done by the province, which included Port Union Road becoming, which Pickering used to be, go to Port Union Road. It began at the Rouge River, and Ajax, very, very small, now bigger than us, got allocated some land.
Right.
Yeah, no, I've someone mentioned that to me, and I just wanted to ask, and I'm not a pessimist, That's one thing I'm definitely not, is a pessimist.
Fair enough. We'll have ample opportunity to go more deep into your individual stances in just a moment here. I have an important question that I know a lot of the residents of Pickering are feeling these days. And so again, Ms. Frampton, to you first. What kind of ideas do you have in place to lower these sky-high taxes Pickering residents pay compared to other parts of the GTA?
Again, if you want to just keep doing the same thing over and over again and beating your head against the wall, yes, we need to bring more industry here. We need to, so that our tax base isn't the 1585 that split that it is now. Now that we know that OPG is going to be here for a while, we can breathe a little bit more so that we know that we've got that tax base that's going to be there, supporting our residential base. But one thing I really do believe in, we are the GTA. And let's go knocking next door. People are laughing at this idea, but let's go knocking next door and see if we can do some splitting with Toronto. Their taxes are 30% less than ours. Why not ask to see what we can do and see if we can do some tax splitting with them?
In what sense? What
to
exactly
see
would
if
that
we
entail?
can say, listen, our taxes are high. What can you do? What can you do to help us? Why can't we go to Toronto? Has anybody ever tried it? Has it been done? If you don't try something, you'll never know. We are the GTA. Let's see if we can go, do a pool. Let's see if we can put everything into one pot and see if we can split. It's a thought. It's an idea.
Now, I imagine that might get complicated. Mr. Ashe, do you have anything to weigh in on that?
I think that idea is laughable, nonsensical, really. To suggest that Toronto taxpayers are going to give money to Pickering, it is laughable. It's not even a serious consideration.
Ideally, we do, we figure out ways to self-generate because, of course, as we learned, not just in the pandemic, but other cases, it's always good to be self-sufficient and be able to register that ourselves. So
I
Pickering
didn't
as
get a
city-
chance to answer that question. So
Yeah, for sure.
I'd like to take the time because
please go ahead. Yeah.
taxes are the big issue in this campaign.
Yeah.
It's not the mythical 75 towers that your video suggests. It's about taxes and it's about quality of life. And we're having tremendous success about new businesses along the 407. Even today we opened, the Premier was here to open Kubota. We have Brio, we have Bad Boys, and we have FGF Rents, about 7,000 jobs right there. Janice quite rightly talked about sense of community and volunteerism being at an all-time low. And I think that has a lot to do with Pickering being a bedroom community, and people spend an hour on the GO train and spend an hour coming home, and they don't want to spend time in their community. They're worrying about Johnny's bath and tomorrow's school and getting to the job. We want more jobs here. We want people not only to live here and to play here, but to work here. And I think that helps also with helping our economy in terms of new revenue. I think it helps our climate, that we don't have to spend time necessarily in a car going down the Don Valley every day. So I think the biggest issue is jobs, and the big issue is about taxes. We need to lessen the burden to our taxpayers.
Right. So how can residents be ensured this will happen? Because some feel that they've been talking about this for a while, but they haven't seen any meaningful reduction.
Well, I think the federal government and the provincial government have been horrible stewards of our land that have basically kept the development from not happening. Seton was expropriated the lands in 1972 when the federal airport lands were expropriated, and we're only now building Seton, and the federal government still hasn't made a decision about the federal lands. So the Seton lands are now happening in terms of the innovation corridor. Jobs are now happening. We also shouldn't understate the importance of the Durham Pickering Casino Resort. Upwards of $20 million. That can be used to renew our infrastructure and also to lessen the burden on our tax base, to pay cash for some capital needs. I wouldn't suggest we put it in our operation budget, but it'll pay for parks. It'll pay for better roads. It'll pay for new recreation facilities. So I think jobs are the key and business is the key for lower taxes.
Okay, sounds good. Any comments?
Yeah, like you've been here for 15 years. Why is it all of a sudden you're the jobs mayor when nothing's changed really in the last 15 years as far as that's concerned? And you know what? We've got to start thinking outside of the box for things. And yes, we have to have jobs where people work, but it's just it seems like all of a sudden you're the jobs mayor, and I don't understand where why this hasn't happened, as I said, over the last 15 years. And growth does not pay for growth. That's the other thing. No matter what anybody says, growth does not pay for growth, because you've got to go back and pay for the growth that you've already had. You've got to do the roads. You've got to maintain what's already been there. So the new growth does not pay for the old growth.
Would you like to respond? You can.
Well, I think I spoke to the reason why the success is in our recent 10-year history, when we're doing the casino in the last number of years, delayed a bit by COVID. The innovation corridor is recent in the last decade as well. We have tremendous success in terms of infrastructural renewal on the GO train. Every 20 minutes now, we have 401. We have the Guinness World Book of Records longest pedestrian bridge.
Longest bridge.
And we have the
Super
407,
proud.
and we successfully advocated for the reduction and removal of the tolls on 412 and 418.
Got it. Okay, we're going to move on to a question that has to do a lot with the development that we're seeing and sort of this tug of war that's going on between the two sides. The question is, so Ms. Frampton, to you first, how do you balance the rights of existing residents in Pickering to enjoy their city as they like it, and the rights of commercial property owners to build on their properties the way they'd like to?
I don't have a problem with development. I mean, people seem to think I have a problem with development, and I don't. This was all done all of a sudden after COVID. We saw this video of yours that you presented, and it seemed that it just popped out of nowhere. I know that there were meetings that were held. There was one about OPA 38. It was all done again during COVID, and people weren't aware of what was going on. And so I don't have a problem with development. I mean, we've got the downtown core. I have 200 people in jobs per hectare for development. We can have some condos or condo towers there. And Mr. Ashe with the ferries and the 75 condo towers, but even the mayor, the outgoing mayor, has said there's 77 towers. You can laugh if you want, but that's what's been said, and it's been in the newspaper. So how do we balance it? We do it properly. We do it with community input, with the proper infrastructure, with reasonable development, and with, as I said, community input. There has to be community driven. We don't get rid of businesses that are existing there, because those are the businesses that survived COVID and are driving our economy and are providing jobs in our city.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Mr. Ashe, how would you balance those two sets of rights?
Well, I think it's important to point out, not one plaza, not one plaza, with the exception of the Old Knob Hill has been demolished or torn down. Not one plaza.
Right.
We have constructed 7 buildings, including a healthcare center, including a casino, including doing a rental apartment on Whites Road.
Right.
We have 16 approved for 2 to 5 years.
Right.
The city put out this information that speaks to 11 buildings that don't have site plan, 43 buildings that have never even come to council or and have a 10-year plus time frame. So what we're talking about in the next 2 to 5 years is the potential of 23 buildings, 7 of which are already constructed.
Right.
But there's not 75.
That is a lot, though. I mean, even
there is a lot. I think I acknowledge that. I acknowledge that.
And the rest may be in the pipeline potentially, right?
Yeah, and I can speak to that because 7 of them are in one facility, Universal City.
Yeah.
There's 3 at Tribute behind the Loblaws. There's 3 at McDonald's on Brock Road.
Yeah.
And there's 2 at the Old Knob Hill Farm. So we're talking about transit-supported, walkable to the GO train facilities. All those buildings I've talked about. There's none approved in Rougemount. There's none approved at Whites Road.
Yeah.
Simply the 75 number, God bless you for doing that, is not a thing that will happen. I mean, it shows a lack of an understanding of the planning process to suggest that we're going to get 75 or 77 towers. It's simply not. It simply can't happen.
So the email that I've got here from Kevin Ashe, councillor, says that staff have reviewed and can advise of the following. There are approximately 73 towers that are in various stages of development review approval process. So that's a lie, and it's from you.
No, it reads
I
43
think we're
of them.
talking about technicalities.
Exactly, technicalities.
We're on to technicalities here.
They're not
If you
approved.
include everything that is proposed, it is
that's what
now
we're talking
77
about.
or so.
That's what
But That's like saying I'm going to win the Masters next year because I had a good hole yesterday playing golf. It ain't going to happen.
No, it's not at all, Kevin.
I know.
No, that's not what we're saying. We're saying that it happened, and it's semantics. Everybody's playing with semantics in this, and it doesn't matter. It actually doesn't matter whether it's 75 or 35 or whatever. The fact is that the developers own that land, and they're going to want. I'm speaking. Do not interrupt me, please. And they're going to want something back for their money. So they're not going to sit there and go, oh, gee, I'm going to twiddle my thumb for 50 years the same way that the feds have about the airport lands and wait until Pickering decides that they're going to allow this to happen. And with OPA 38 being shoveled around, they can do it. Look what they've done in different areas where it said, oh,
Where? Name one.
Okay.
Name one
The
building.
one,
right,
at the
Keep the temperature a little cooler.
At Rougemount, according to the official plan, they can only have 4 stories, but it's just gone up and up and up.
4
and
stories. Is there what they're allowed as a right through OP 838?
No, at OPA 38, he's wanted more and more stories. Yeah. The planning at
There's no approval. It hasn't
I
even come to
didn't
council.
say
So
that there was
planning process
approval.
hasn't started.
I didn't
I
even
guess-
say there was approval.
If I may interject, I'm going to interject with just a question. So
Okay.
on this note is that, so we know that there's 20 and odd so that are confirmed,
Yes.
approved, right? And the rest of them have put in submissions to be approved. So, I mean, what do you see as the likelihood that, like, won't most of them probably, if the other ones have gotten approvals, well, if they kind of set a precedent?
I actually think the building process has changed, as you know, in the business you're in. Things aren't selling right now. We have one on Brock Road wanted to put a condo in. Even last week, we're not doing condos now. We're doing townhouses. Sabera at White's Road hasn't even started the planning process.
Yeah.
Bruno's Plaza, which Miss Frampton wants to talk about, hasn't even started the planning process. Councillor Brenner and I hosted a public meeting so we could hear from residents about the concerns that we as councillors for that area have. So to suggest we're going to get 77 towers or 75 towers or 55 towers, I think it's a fantasy. You're more likely to see 55 or 75 unicorns come out of the Rouge River than you are to see 75 towers on Kingston
And
Road.
do you think that's not more because of the circumstances, because there isn't the materials to build it, and there aren't the people necessarily to buy it, and that there aren't the skilled workers anymore to build the things themselves because our generation, my generation, is retiring? That's more to the point. But if those things were in place, those towers would be there and they'd be approved. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, fair enough. So we'll wrap up on that point, and now let's move into some topical debates flowing well off of this topic. The first one is going to be around the infamous OPA 38. So for those who don't know, OPA 38 is a proposal to amend the official plan of Pickering. This proposal introduces a number of things. Among them are making Kingston Road and the Brock and sort of Pickering Parkway area strategic growth areas, which would lead to higher density in these vicinities. So, along Kingston Road. And this is one of the things that I know, Ms. Frampton, you would like to scrap OPA 38. Mr. Ashe, you have voted in support of this. Let's talk about your stance on this for a moment. Ms. Frampton, OPA 38, why are you against it?
It reminded me of Highway 7 up in North York, and it's appalling. Like you can't move, you can't drive down it. There's just traffic everywhere. The people who live there hate it. The density is terrible. It's not a community at all.
Now, could that be a perspective thing? I mean, what about the people who live there?
I asked them. They don't like it. They were in construction forever. Look at what Metrolinx itself has done to on Eglinton. They've been in construction for years.
It's been a little while.
Yeah, no kidding. So everything that they touch it seems to go down the toilet. And you talk about the bridge in Pickering. We're in the Guinness Book of World Records. Are we also for going over budget? I don't know, because it went over budget a lot. That's not a community, or you can't turn left out of here. We're going to rip up sidewalks in front of existing apartment buildings. People aren't going to be able to walk. It's not building communities, it's destroying them.
I see.
And when I went in there and I spoke to someone and I looked at the model, I went into planning and I was like, are you kidding me? This is what you have planned for Kingston Road. And I said, this is going to destroy. And they basically said, well, it's not my problem. And I was like, no, but it is. This is your city.
Got it. Mr. Ashe, what about you? Why do you support OPA 38?
OPA 38 means Official Plan Amendment 38. Official Plan doesn't give people a right to necessarily build. It's a roadmap about a vision. Each of the parcels of land have to be rezoned, and that's a public process where people get a process that involves the council. Many of them are decades in the future, and it's a roadmap for the vision of Pickering. The provincial government is determined that Pickering is going to be a growth center. We're going to gather or get 60 to 70,000 more people. Many of them will be in North Pickering, Seaton, or Northeast Pickering with the expansion of our urban boundaries. But many will also be along Kingston Road. Change is coming. We have to do that, again, in an orderly, responsible, and sustainable way. And we have to do it with the infrastructure renewal of our transit that makes people work, make it walkable, bikeable. So I supported OP 38 because it doesn't give people a right to build a condo. It gives a vision, and it puts a roadmap about what's allowed or not allowed. Individual site plan takes time, a rezoning, and those aren't granted through OP 38.
Right. So generally, though, you would support the expansion of these growth areas from just the city centre to include the Brock Node and the Kingston Road corridor?
I have the Brock Node. I think is a logical place. It goes up to the 407, and it's transit supported. I have more concerns about the Rougemount corridor and the Woodlands corridor because there's people living there, and I think we have to be mindful that there's neighbors that live there, less so in their city center and to the eastern part of our city. So I'm certainly more supportive of our city center and eastbound, have more concerns about the Rougemount corridor.
Got it. Sounds good. Now we're going to move on to the next topic of debate, that is going to be the city center. So city center project is currently paused and is set to make some decisions once the new council is voted in. As mayor in 2023, what would you like to see happen to our city center, Ms. Frampton?
I would like to see the Vision 2013 to be revisited, revamped, and public input for that. It was a great vision. I mean, obviously we're missing the Sears wing now, and it had green space, and it was walkable, livable, all those things that we talked about. And that's what I would like to see happen as far as that's concerned.
Cool. Okay, sounds good. Mr. Ashe?
I appreciate the question. This is the report that was going to go to council on September 6th, and it does talk about the revised plan, allows for the flexibility should the city decide to pursue the city center project. It talks, and your most recent video suggests it was canceled. That's not the case. It also
paused, right?
Paused, that's correct.
Yeah.
It also goes on to talk about 12,000 square meters of net office space in phase one. It also goes to talk about 2,000 square meters of commercial retail space, again in phase one. So there's a lot of misinformation out there about the Pickering Town Center and the redevelopment of that. I support the inclusion of our new senior center, our new library, our new performing arts center on the Pickering Town Center site. I think it's a great vision. It includes a park and 2 public roads as well, also in that report. So a lot of people are suggesting that everything's canceled. It's not canceled. It's still moving forward to the decision in January with the new council.
As mayor, you would support a version of the city center which includes sort of how it was recent with the Performing Arts Center, seniors and youth, like that?
Yes, absolutely.
Public square?
Absolutely.
Public square? Public square?
Public square.
Public square. Okay, good to know. Now, let's talk quickly about the Pickering nuclear station. So obviously, the extension that they had put in place has gone up. Now, the question of renewal is coming up. Should it be extended? What do you see overall as the future of Pickering Nuclear Station?
It's not really our decision to make. That's the way I mean, we could have input on it. The technology is changing all the time. I personally think that they're going to keep extending it. That's just my opinion. Should it be extended? That's a good question. I think it's an aging facility that no, I don't think it should be extended beyond what they've got it as now. But I don't know what they're going to do. To be honest, I don't know as far as input is concerned. Does Pickering have that much say in it? Pickering's tried to close it down many times, and we've just been told, "Who cares what you have to say?" sort of thing.
Can you speak to
now,
that,
hold
Have
on
you
for one
experienced
second.
Sure.
Then from that context, they owe us. The province owes us, and we've been looked at and ignored for a long time, and they owe us. And I say they owe us financially, and that's you can go knocking on the province's door, and that's just my input on that.
Got it. Mr. Ashe, anything to
Sure.
add?
The original plan was for it to begin shutdown in 2024 and complete in 2025.
Yeah.
Pickering Nuclear generates 14% of the provincial electrical supply. The proposal by the minister, which was announced about 2 weeks ago, I had an opportunity to talk to the Minister of Energy about this. Their request, which will be reviewed by the Arm's Length Independent Nuclear Safety Commission, asks for the extension from December 31st, 2025 to September of 2026, about 9 months, really to get through one more summer season of air conditioners. So OPG's been a valuable partner, revenue generation, high-paying jobs, but I share Janice's concern about an aging infrastructure. The minister also spoke about a feasibility study about refurbishing 5, 6, 7, and 8. 1, 2, 3, 4 reactors will be closed and beginning the shutdown. It will take decades for us to reclaim that land. But I think there's an opportunity in the long term. It is on our waterfront. I think there is an opportunity for reclaiming of some of those lands. Sports fields are down there, the cricket club's down there. It's right on our waterfront. So I appreciate OPG as being a valuable partner, but I think it's time to think about the next phase of those lands.
And the parks down there that need to be given back to the city as well.
Along those lines, last topic here we'll talk about is the waterfront. So other than what we've talked about with the nuclear station, what other changes would you like to see happen to our Pickering waterfront, if any?
Yeah, no, the Petticoat Creek, that's a big bugbear of mine because it just sits there and it's closed for most of the year. And there's 500 parking spaces down there. It's $20 fee to get in. Most families don't have that kind of money to go down for a day at the picnic, and it's ridiculous. So why has nothing been done about that? And the park should be open all year round, as far as I'm concerned. We could have BMX biking down there, have a skating rink down there, have people could go cross-country skiing down there. And why isn't the pool hasn't been open and the splash pad for the kids? It's a ridiculous waste of resources that the city could utilize, and they're not. So that's to me is a total waste. That's our entrance into our waterfront, and that's our jewel. It needs a lot of work and it needs a lot of cleanup, and that's why I'm saying the province owes us, and there's money to be asked for, and we can go from there.
Okay. Got it.
Across.
Mr. Ashe, what changes, if any, should we be making to our waterfront?
Well, first of all, Petticoat Creek is not owned by the city,
Nope.
or it's owned by Toronto Region Conservation Authority, who is not in a financial position to give us money. Having said that, our waterfront is our jewel. I've grown up on both the east and the west shore. We've spent millions of dollars on our west spit to modernize it, but also keeping it natural. We spent $9 million and partnered with the federal government and the provincial government to redevelop and renew our harbor entrance. Our bay is dying. There's weeds. We have to do something about that. I'd like the city to own that bay again. It's owned by the Pickering Harbor Company, and I'd like to look at options for us reclaiming that as a city asset because we have to clean it up. It's dying, and there's all kinds of reasons for it. But we need to clean it up. There was proposals for condos down there. I voted against that. Continue to be opposed to development on our waterfront on 2 occasions, the Morgan property as well as the Pickering Harbor Company. So I don't envision it to be a place where we'll have condos, but I could envision, further townhouses. I know there's a beautiful townhouse development on the East Shore. We need to make our nautical village more than just a 3 or 4 month visiting period. We have to get people down there 12 months a year.
Right. Thank you very much.
And there's going to be a waterfront, the waterfront committee that worked on, the last waterfront committee, they're putting out a proposal, a new vision, it's Waterfront 2026. And when that comes out, that'll have more information about
what they want.
About what they want. And
sure.
a lot of people have been working
Sounds
very
good. So
hard on
we can
Yeah.
link to that if it comes out in time.
Yeah.
Okay, so now I want to move on to an important section of this debate, which may be a little uncomfortable, but it's going to be putting both of you on the hot seat, one at a time. We're going to go in the same order as the coin toss. So since you got to go first, you are first on the hot seat. So here we have a number of common critiques, and we're going to give you the chance to respond to those.
Sure.
All ready? So, Ms. Frampton, among the sharpest criticisms we've heard from your opponents thus far is some calling you too inexperienced for the job. What do you say to those people, and are they right or wrong?
Well, I'll just say it's after 1990, we had our 4th child, and we had 4 children in 7 years, and I started the Taxpayers Coalition with my husband, and we ran the largest.
Was that? Sorry.
It was in the early 1990s. We ran the largest No More Taxes rally in the country. We ran the Taxpayers Coalition for about 10 years. I also ran for council against Dave Ryan. The first time I ran, I went to the OMB with friends. I did when it was difficult to navigate.
Ontario Municipal Board, right?
Yes, the Ontario Municipal Board. I also went back to school and got my journalism certificate. We had the Brandy Lanes Homeowners Association. I did all of this. Oh, plus I had 4 kids and I worked full time, and I managed a household. So you can be organized and you can be experienced in many ways. I know how to run things. I know how to manage a home. I know how to manage, and I took care of some of our finances. I managed a budget, and I know how to read a budget, which I learned through the Taxpayers Coalition, and I also spoke at the region. So these are a lot of things that people don't know. I've spoken at the province. I've advocated. I've done a lot of stuff that I taught for the separate school board. So I've done a lot of things that people just don't know about because I don't sit there and go, woohoo, I did this. So you know what? There's experience. Experience comes with many different faces.
Got it. Okay. Next question. Ms. Frampton, one of your campaign slogans is #No75condos.
Yep.
As someone generally opposing development, how do you plan to reconcile that stance with Ontario's provincial mandates, including the Places to Grow Act?
No, I don't. I do not. I'm not against development. That's the misnomer. I am against the 75 condos the way it was presented because it lacked community input. The community to me has been ignored in a lot of this, and that's what really got me going on all of this. It was all of a sudden, oh, here we are. We're going to have these 75 condos. This land's been sold. Where was the community in the discussion about this? And the Places to Grow Act, look. To me, it was a little bit of a bully document. Here you go. And as far as I'm concerned, it looked like Pickering was supposed to take all 1.5 million people and put them into Pickering. There are places in Durham that are vacant. Oshawa, South Oshawa has been forgotten. It's a forgotten area of Durham. Why are we not looking at areas like that to refurbish it rather than going and developing in Pickering? Even Sean Collier knows that the big box areas are going to have to be redeveloped eventually. Like there are places that are going to need redevelopment.
Yeah.
And so why are we just going and pushing north and pushing north? And you know what else? Where are our First Nations people in all of this. Pickering does, and they do a great job in saying, oh, here we are, we're going to the land acknowledgements, but I don't see any First Nations people at the table and being consulted, which is supposed to be when it comes to any of this development. So there's a lot of stuff that needs to be reorganized, and it's hypocritical.
Okay. Next question here in the hot seat. So obviously many of these buildings are proposed to be major offices as well, like you had brought up,
Yep.
which will support all kinds of jobs here in Pickering.
Yep.
Are you against those kinds of offices or just the condos that you had mentioned previously?
I could be really sarcastic right now, but no, of course I'm not against jobs. I'm not against.
But let's say if there's now 20 office buildings proposed in our core and it's going to bring lots of jobs, what do you say as mayor?
What do I say as mayor? I have to see what it looks like. I have to see where and how it's being proposed. If it's just like office towers, that would not suit Pickering at all. At the downtown core, where is it going? Where are you going to be proposing these? Is it going to be along Kingston Road? How is it being proposed? What you're throwing at me is a scenario that I can't speak to.
So for you, it depends on location, et cetera.
It's the location, how they're being proposed. That's a scenario that I won't speak to because it's a fantasy.
Right.
Like the fairies and the
Unicorns.
unicorn. Oh, thank you.
Fairies and
Unicorns.
Okay. Last question here. You've talked about, and you did previously, you've talked about pushing development to other areas like Oshawa rather than Pickering. Is it reasonable to suggest that everywhere else should develop, but not here?
No, gosh, no. I didn't say that. I just said it should be spread around more evenly than just, it seems like it's just like Pickering, Pickering, Pickering. And I don't know what Kevin or other people have against farmland and green space and trees, but it just seems like let's like rip up the let's tear down the trees. But it seems to me that no. That's again a misnomer. Let's just do it more evenly. Let's look at what we have and utilize it to the best of its potential.
Got it. Okay. Perfect. Now, Mr. Ashe, we're going to give you a minute or two if you want to respond to anything she said here. You can go ahead and do so before you are in the hot seat next.
No, I'm comfortable with Janice
Okay.
speaking her own words, and
Yeah.
I'll
Thank
happy-
you. Oh, that's very kind of you.
Look at that, folks. Harmony. Okay. We are going to now put Mr. Ashe in the hot seat. Are you ready?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, great. You are obviously quite experienced when it comes to city affairs. You've been on council for a number of years, and your father was mayor of then town of Pickering as well. What do you say to those who see you as an establishment status quo candidate?
I accept that. I am the establishment candidate, and I'm quite comfortable in embracing that as a positive rather than a negative. This is a large company, or it acts as a large corporation, 125 million, 600 employees. And being the establishment candidate means people recognize that I have the experience and the leadership qualities to move our city forward. I'm honored to have the endorsement of our current mayor, our former mayor, Mayor Wayne Arthurs, and if the other two mayors were alive, I'm sure they would have endorsed me too. So I embrace the idea of being the establishment candidate. I think Pickering has a lot to be proud of our past, but I'm excited about its future. And I think the corner office in City Hall, where the mayor has the privilege of operating out of, will have a new energy and a new vision. Mm-hmm. And I think couple that with my experience, I think it's an exciting time for our city.
Okay, as a follow-up to that, where does a Kevin Ashe municipal government differ from a Dave Ryan municipal government?
Okay, I think a couple of things. One, Janice spoke about what's not happened in the last 15 years. I want to be the jobs mayor. I'll travel the world to get jobs here at Pickering. I'm okay with having all kinds of office buildings in our downtown core. I don't mind people getting on the GO train at Union Station and coming to Pickering to work. I'm supportive of the economic development of all types of all types of opportunities across our city. So I think that'll be a key for me. In regards to, Mayor Ryan, who I think is a man of tremendous integrity and commitment to our city, we didn't always see eye to eye. Often we disagreed on some items.
Can you give us an example?
Absolutely. He was certainly more out there in some of the developments that have already been happening. He's very, very pro-airport, where I have a kind of a more nuanced position in regards to the airport. He believes in the benefits of Seton, where I think Seton hasn't been necessarily a great addition to our city. So I think we've differed on those types of issues. But I guess I bring a new energy and experience that I think positions us well.
Okay. Next question is, Mr. Ashe, you tend to be pro-jobs and pro-development, with exception of the changes that you just said. But is there a kind of development in Pickering that you wouldn't approve or that you wouldn't want to see? Where do you draw the line?
Well, I think jobs or development that impacts our existing neighborhoods. For instance, there's a proposal to build. That hasn't come to council. It hasn't even gone through the big planning process at Rougemount. That particular body of land has gone to the OMB and is zoned for townhouses, and the new owner wants to put condos. Well, I don't support that on that corner.
Which corner is this again?
Rougemount
the Rougemount
and north.
So this is the Bruno's Plaza?
No, this is the northwest corner.
Northwest. Okay, that I see. Yeah.
The signs say condos overlooking the Rouge River.
Yes, yes.
And don't know them.
Yeah.
Don't know where it's been, have never seen a proposal, and they've got this fancy billboard at that corner, and there's residents on Dalewood and Fondale and also.
Does that stretch, out of curiosity, does that stretch to other parts of that Rouge area? So
Absolutely.
are you generally...
When they're attached to existing neighborhoods, I have serious concerns about density, shadowing, maintaining retail space. So that's really right across the Rougemount corridor.
Yeah. Okay. Next question is about Chestnut Hill Developments. Tell us about that. How did that relationship with the city become so strong?
Well, they were the first partners. They built the first 3 San Franciscos by the Bay.
Yeah.
And I think it was kind of Pickering coming of age back in 2005, maybe, when that was approved. It was the old IGA Plaza.
Yeah,
run down kind of plaza on Bailey. And they've become a partner. They have bought the naming rights for our community center.
Right.
Now called the Chestnut Hill, I think over $1 million over 10 years. So they didn't buy it. They bought the
Is
name.
it $1 million total spread out over 10
Yeah,
years?
I think it's $115,000 over each year for 10 years.
Isn't that not a lot of money?
1.15 million when we just spent millions to renovate it.
I saw the renos. They're nice.
So we didn't have to use the taxpayer for doing that. We're going to be looking at naming rights for a number of other facilities, our soccer dome, our new heritage center in Greenwood,
Right.
Our performing arts center, all those things. I think corporate naming is kind of the new wave. Public buildings get paid for.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough.
As we attend the Air Canada Center and the Rogers Sky Dome.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, fair enough now. Okay, Ms. Frampton, would you like to respond to anything that was talked about while Kevin was in the hot seat?
Yeah, because the one thing was with the Rougemount, there are people that went to the OLT about that, and Pickering didn't send any lawyers to help represent
That was 4
them.
building lots.
But still, Pickering...
4 building lots. I'm not talking about condos. 4 building lots. That was.
Could you clarify that?
Yeah. A group of community members were opposed to a developer building 47-foot lots, 4 lots, and it went to the OLT, and it was recommended by planning staff, and we made the determination that the arm's length independent tribunal was going to make the determination about the worthiness of it. So there was not lawyers spent on that.
And there's some at the bottom of Dunn Ave, the one on Dunn Avenue. There are a number of them that people are fighting that they like.
Dunn Avenue, they sent.
Did you send that?
It was a council decision. We always send council decisions. It was the
Okay. Because I was told that there wasn't one done for the Dunn Avenue one, because we helped someone with that one too.
Got it.
Put their
that's-
presentation together.
4 houses again.
Yeah, and it's
Yeah.
packed into a little, like the infill sometimes is just ridiculous.
But if I could speak to
Yeah,
that, and
sure.
not to disagree with Janice at all, but the reality is we have, and Janice I'm sure has heard it about infill, but the government of Ontario is going to make us infill. They're going to,
Yeah.
as a matter of right, 4 duplexes are going to be allowed, a granny flat. So we're going to have
Part of the housing strategy, I believe.
that's part of the
Yeah.
housing strategy. So we're going to have to deal with those, how it impacts our communities, how it impacts our parking, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So it's nice to protect neighborhood character, but there's a train coming down the track from the province that's going to make that harder to do.
Oh, listen, I've sat with a lot of people and worked on the OLT projects with them, so I do know that. I've been part of that train.
Okay, awesome. So thank you so much for that. We really appreciate it. Now, because we've done all the official segments, we can now move into a few minutes of just free flow. Is there anything that you guys would like to talk about that you've heard, that you want to say something about, that you want to, publicly say for the viewers? You guys can now take the floor. Ms. Frampton, if you have anything you'd like to say or bring up.
Just, as I said, experience comes in many different forms, and I bring a plethora of experience. It just hasn't been at the city level and at this point in time, and everybody has to start somewhere. And Kevin, you started somewhere, and you say it's not not an entry-level job. Well, there was a prime minister in New Zealand who started off, and she walked into the prime minister's job, and she's done a hell of a good job at that level. And it's not always about being the most experienced. Sometimes it's about bringing the best heart with you. And you voted with the developers almost every single time, Kevin. And that's where I have to say, maybe you're not bringing the best heart to the job. And that's where I will disagree with you. Because if you're going to be a developer-driven person, then you're not bringing the best interest of Pickering to the job. And that's because it's got to be to me, it's got to be a community base. And yes, you'll vote with the developers when it's the right time. And I'm not anti-development. I really am not. I just want it to be more community driven.
Okay, Mr. Ashe?
This election's about jobs and taxes and experience. If I have the privilege on October 24th to be the mayor, I have a 100-day plan. I want to meet with our stakeholders. I want to meet with the neighboring mayors to see where we can work together. I want to work with our staff to develop both short and long-term priorities for our city. And I want to meet with the new council with at least 3 new members. I think we need a strong, experienced leader. I vote for better transit. My opponent doesn't want enhanced transit in Pickering. I want better facilities.
Can talk about that.
I want choice in housing. I want a better waterfront. And I want the development be done in a responsible, orderly, and sustainable way. I can tell people to go visit my website, www.kevinashformayor.com. I have a section on Get the Facts. It talks about 75 condos. It talks about City Center project. It talks about secret meetings that aren't secret at all.
Yeah.
There's a number of things that are in there, developer funding, all these innuendos that have been tossed around, not necessarily by Miss Frampton, but by some of her supporters. So I don't want to suggest that she's the author of those things, but there's certainly be said there.
Sure.
So October 24th, Kevin Ashe is a vote for experience you can count on.
May I ask, if they're not secret meetings, why don't we have the minutes for them?
Because they're in camera and there's legal.
Okay,
so it's
semantics again. So, but then, so they're in camera. So for the record, in camera, secret, they're just semantics.
They don't publish the
Exactly.
But there's
So-
an agenda and they're orderly
So
done.
so we get that.
Right.
So they are secret because we don't have an agenda for
That's
them.
not actually true.
Well, but
When
then
there's public when there's things that to be announced in public, they're done.
Okay,
If there's
yeah.
legal advice given, that's not done.
Yes,
because
but
we
the
wouldn't
whole
deal with
meeting
it.
didn't have to be in camera.
Well, we
think-
have 4 specific exemptions on the Municipal Act.
I know that.
And we do them in accordance with that, and the city clerk is independent of council in regards to that. We have been proven time and time again to be in compliance with the Municipal Act, and suggest that we're having secret meetings to approve condos is not helpful for the debate.
No. I just said that secret, to some people, secret in camera. I'm trying to differentiate and semantics. That's all I'm saying. And I'm just trying to, and I don't like when you put words in my mouth. But
I don't think I did put words in your mouth, but.
anyway, and it's not always, to your point about you were deputy mayor at one point, and what did you do? You broke the rules. Is that the way to run
How
a
so?
city? Pardon?
How so? What are you referring to?
Kevin went on a trip when it was
Oh, that
COVID.
incident.
So I'm just saying, you don't always go, oh, I have experience, and no, it's if you're going to play by the rules, you have to play by the rules. And you know what? Sometimes we need fresh look at it. You bring bad habits with you when you've been there for a long time. And I don't have those bad habits. I want to bring the community. I want to bring you to Pickering. You want to bring you back to your city hall where you belong. Respect, honoring the communities. I want to bring that back to City Hall.
If I could give 30 seconds.
Yeah, for sure.
About the Bahamas trip, because
yeah, for sure. Right response.
my son died by suicide on April 1st, Easter Sunday, 2018.
Yep.
And holidays are a very difficult time for my family, especially my wife. My stepson passed away on a holiday. And I made the decision to support her in regards to getting away. It's a decision I regret. In hindsight, and it showed a lack of judgment on my part, and I acknowledge that.
And thank you,
enough.
Kevin. And honestly, a lot of us have lost people to suicide. I lost a nephew, and it's not easy, and I respect that. It's just the judgment that you make, and that's what a leader does, is make judgments. So I'm just saying that.
Okay, fair enough. Now, we do have a little bit of extra time here, so there's one question that we did want to talk about that we didn't have time for as of this moment. We can talk quickly about the airport. Quickly, if you could share your thoughts. Pickering Airport, yes, no, somewhere in between.
No,
What do you think?
it's Pickering Airport. It's past its time. Look what happened this year at Pearson. They don't have the staff to even staff Pearson anymore. People don't want to do the job. My generation has retired, and it's going to take a long time for them to get up to speed. To get everything back up to speed. Plus, they have Hamilton right next door, where Hamilton wants the business. The GTAA doesn't own it right now, but they could facilitate it, and it'd be a heck of a lot cheaper than putting shovels in the ground and building a new airport out here. People say, yes, they'll bring jobs, but hold on a second. That sounds great, but they don't have the materials. They don't have the people to do the work. What jobs are you going to bring if you don't even have the materials to build the airport? It's right now we're just not in a position to do that, and I would like to see this put in the farmlands be put as part of the Rouge Park, or as put as a place to in perpetuity to as farmland. So that's my thoughts on that.
Got it. Mr. Ashe?
Sure, I'd happy to talk about this. First of all, when Mr. Trudeau, number one, expropriated the land in 1972, we've had the federal government being terrible stewards of that land by both political parties. They've let our community of Brome die. Mm-hmm. They have not given long enough leases for our farmers to make it a meaningful cash crop. Right. So they've been horrible stewards of the land. Having said that, this election is about jobs and about economic development. And I think there is the potential to have the airport being a job creation. It has to be done right. It has to be done with a sound business case. It can't be a white elephant like Mirabel. And it could be done by the private sector, not the public sector. And if there's ever an airport in Pickering, I don't envision it being a Pearson or a Hamilton. It would probably be an industrial commercial airport where a Boeing or a Bombardier would locate in Pickering and have rail side or not rail side, but airport side, runway side. Just on Friday, we met with the federal government about having high-speed rail through the airport lands or federal lands. So we're using different terms for that particular land. So if there's a business case to support it, there's certainly up in the air if that is the case. It'd have to be proven and universally embraced that there is a business case. I think there is an opportunity for the private sector to do something there.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so very much. We are just going to let you guys have one closing statement. We'll do 1 minute each. Ms. Frampton.
I am not against transportation in Pickering. I'm against the rail because it's outdated technology, and I'm against them ripping up Kingston Road. If we're going to think outside the box, let's go to Taunton because they're doing work on it now. It's not an already established neighborhood. We need to get people north and south before we can talk about getting people east and west. We've already got ways to move people east and west. We don't need to be ripping up Kingston Road. So let's get our people moving north and south out of their communities. Transportation is going to be evolving as we speak. It's technology's moving so quickly that I think it's something to be looked at for the future, and we need to talk to the people involved and the communities involved as far as that's concerned. We're a big city geographically, so we have to find out the best way to move people. Go with who you think is going to be the best person to move Pickering forward. Experience in what respect? Who do you want your communities to evolve? Do you want your voice at City Hall, or do you want the voice of somebody who's been there for a long time and brings the voice of their past voice with them and on their shoulder? Who's talking to them on the shoulder, the province or you? That's your choice.
Okay, awesome. Mr. Ashe?
Great, thank
closing
you.
remarks.
Thank you for this opportunity today, and I thank you, Janice, for agreeing to come here and share our joint ideas. This is a very important election. Pickering's at a crossroads, and I think we need an experienced leader with at least 3 new councillors coming on board. I bring experience in terms of life, in terms of business, and in terms of political experience. It's simply not an entry-level job. I keep saying that, and I keep saying it because that's what I hear at the door. People say, you know, Ms. Frampton and Mr. Nazar should have ran for council. They would have been great voices around. I agree. They should have ran for council. I don't think you'd hire a CEO of a company that doesn't have any experience, and that's what you're asking. So on October 24th, I ask people to vote for experienced leadership and experience you can count on. Vote Kevin Ashe.
Okay, thank you very much. Folks, this has been the first ever NextGen Mayor's Debate. We really hope you enjoyed this and found it to be helpful. This election is approaching soon. Election day is October 24th. That's actually the end of the election period. You said it starts on the 17th?
Correct.
17th. And yeah, so you can vote early if you'd like. Check out the video description for links to all 3 mayor candidates' websites. I thank you very much for your time and your attention. Don't forget to hit the comments and let us know all about your thoughts on what was discussed here, as well as what you thought about the first ever debate/discussion we hosted. Should we do more of these? Should I never do this again? You guys let me know in the comments. Thank you once again, and have an awesome day.